When the men of her kingdom surrendered, one woman stood up and said, "If you won't fight, I will." Now, pause for a moment and imagine that room. Armed men, powerful chiefs, total silence, and then one woman breaking it. This is not a legend. This happened. In 1900, while the British Empire was expanding across Africa, one African woman refused humiliation. Her name was Yaa Asantewaa, and what she did next would shake an empire. If stories like this matter to you, the ones history often skips, you are in the right place. Long before colonial rule, the Asante Empire was one of the most powerful and sophisticated states in Africa. It was rich in gold, highly centralized, and militarily organized. European records feared it, neighboring states respected it. This was not a society waiting to be conquered. It was a people who had built power on their own terms. At the heart of Asante identity was the Golden Stool. It was not a throne and not a decoration. No king sat on it. No human owned it. The Golden Stool was believed to carry the soul of the Asante people, their ancestors, their unity, and their right to rule themselves. To touch it without permission was taboo. To demand it was an act of war. By the late 19th century, Britain had already fought several wars with the Asante. Eventually, they captured and exiled the Asante king, Prem I, along with other leaders, sending them far away to the Seychelles. With its leadership removed, the empire was weakened, the people were angry, but they were also exhausted. War had taken its toll and fear began to creep into the councils of power. In 1900, the British governor made a fatal mistake. He demanded the Golden Stool. To the British, it was just a symbol of authority. To the Asante, it was their very existence. Chiefs were summoned to decide what to do. Some argued for peace, others argued for submission. British weapons were powerful and another war felt like suicide. As hesitation filled the room, Yaa Asantewaa stood up. She was the Queen Mother of Ejisu, a position of real political authority in Asante society. Queen mothers were not ceremonial figures. They advised kings, nominated rulers, and represented the people. When her grandson was exiled by the British, she became regent. Leadership was already a responsibility. She looked at the men before her, chiefs, elders, warriors, and asked a question that cut through the silence. Had bravery now become the work of women? She declared that if the men of Asante would not fight, then the women would. They would fight until the last of them fell on the battlefield. This was not poetry. It was a declaration of war. Yaa Asantewaa organized resistance against the British, and this is where many history books rush the story. But at the same time, they don't. Because what happens next explains why her name still matters today. She mobilized warriors, coordinated strategy, and inspired a people who had begun to doubt themselves. Under her leadership, the Asante laid siege to the British fort in Kumasi. For months, they resisted one of the most powerful empires in the world. A woman was leading men into battle, and history was being rewritten in real time. This conflict became known as the War of the Golden Stool, the final major war of African resistance in the Gold Coast. Despite their courage and determination, the Asante were eventually overwhelmed. The British brought reinforcements and superior firepower. Victory slipped from Asante hands, but surrender never touched their spirit. Yaa Asantewaa was captured and exiled to the Seychelles. The same distant fate forced upon the Asante king. She would never return to her homeland. She died in exile in 1921, far from the forests and people she had fought to protect. Yet, the British never achieved what they wanted most. The Golden Stool was never found. It was never captured. It was never sat upon. Though Britain won the war, they never conquered the soul of the Asante people. Decades later, Ghana would rise as an independent nation, and Yaa Asantewaa's defiance would be remembered as a blueprint for resistance. Her story proves that African resistance was organized, strategic, and relentless, and that women were never silent observers of history. Yaa Asantewaa matters because her story challenges how history is told. It forces us to question who is remembered as a leader and who is erased. When dignity was threatened, she refused silence. When surrender was offered, she chose resistance. When the men of her kingdom surrendered, one woman stood up, and history changed. That woman was Yaa Asantewaa, and this was Africa resisting. If this story stayed with you, that's a sign. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more stories like this, told with depth and respect, turn on notifications. The next one is waiting. This is a story remembered truthfully.